Ozempic and GLP-1 agonists revealed something really important about fat loss. Dieting, if not structured right, can always feel like food's on your mind. Can always feel like you're hungry, dealing with cravings. Why can't I stop thinking about food? Why do I feel like I'm failing this discipline fight? Enter Ozempic. Suddenly we've got a tool that affects your brain's hunger signals, your stomach clearance rates, and your blood sugar regulation. And suddenly the same people who are struggling with fat loss can now get results. But what if I told you you can get the results without the side effects, as well as the unknown side effects, without all those costs? And I've done with dozens and dozens of people who felt like they couldn't defeat hunger and cravings. Here's the thing, hunger matters, cravings matter, and they definitely drive your food choices and behavior. So here's what to do instead. Number one is to increase satiety. GLP-1s, Ozempic, and other things of that family will slow down your appetite signal. The thing is though, we can do this with regular foods. So I think nearly everyone would have had this experience where they would have had a meal, a smaller one, or even just a snack, and 1.5 hours later, they're then hungry again. Versus you can have certain foods that can stretch you up to 3, 4, 5 hours again before even wanting to eat, just because you're full. That effect can happen just with the slower stomach clearance rate of Ozempic and GLP-1s. But we can do this with regular foods. So what are we talking? We're talking Spud Light, pumpkin, vegetables in general, proteins of a lower fat variety, jelly light, whatever it is. But here's the thing that's really going to be important. And here's where you got to be real with yourself. If you've been eating large portions your whole life, or you've gotten yourself to be overweight, you are going to be hungry if you cut down the sizes of these meals. There's nothing wrong with you. That is a known effect. You need to actively stuff yourself with these foods. Get really full. Eat big with these. Have yourself be stuffed. This constantly works, but you can't treat that not seriously. Number two is avoid the blood sugar dips. GLP-1 agonists are phenomenal at regulating your blood sugar. So what we need to do instead, if we're not using these things, is increase the fiber of our meals, the dietary fats even, and even some proteins. What this can do is mean that the same food, instead of shooting your blood sugar right up and crashing right down below to baseline and you feeling snacky and hungry, can then stretch you out for hours. And it's now gonna be a long time until you feel like you're ready to snack and hunger. And then what do you know? The cravings are starting to dip too, because you're not getting that blood sugar signal from your brain. Point being, we're trying to make meals last hours, not minutes. Number three is to put the foods where you actually need them. So if you're using a GLP-1, you might have your lunch at 1 p.m. and the satiating effects of that might carry you until your 7 p.m. dinner. Might sound uneventful, but when you actually study people's food behaviors, you start to realize that solves something quite important. And that is the fact that around 4:30, 5 p.m., whatever it is for maybe more of a regular person, you might then feel like the after effects of that 1 p.m. meal have dipped off. You might just feel bored, you're sick at the end of the workday, and you might go snacking in the cupboard. That whole part of your brain that wants to raid the cupboard after school, I swear it's still there for most of us. So that actually helps you get through that period a little bit easier. This is where it's best for us, as people who are not using this stuff, to just plan to put in calories preemptively right there. Plan to bring in a 4:30 snack. And hey, you might notice 200 calories. But you planning for 200 calories there addresses the food for when you actually need it and stops you going on a pathway of just munching 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 calories, and then you've lost your deficit for the day. This is important to solve for fat loss. So look, these things take thinking ahead. It's putting foods where you need it. It is controlling your blood sugar with foods that actually line up with controlling your cravings. It is stuffing yourself with food. We all know that effect post-buffet where you can't eat anymore. You can recreate that effect without having 1 million calories if you know which foods to put into your plan. Here's the thing, it works. It does take planning, accountability, tracking, I'm not gonna lie. But you're also not dealing with these known and unknown side effects the way that people with Ozempic are starting to find out in a harsh way. This can be solved naturally. If you want to know how I'd solve this for you, for your specific limitations and cravings and hunger and these battles you're fighting, you can check out my coaching in the link in the description. Because we can get these Ozempic-like lessons without the drugs. The drugs aren't the lesson. Here's the thing. The lesson isn't that the drugs just work for no reason. It's that appetite is powerful. And if you're not addressing the positive effects of how to navigate appetite to your advantage, you're going to constantly be dealing with the food noise, the cravings, the hunger, the is there something wrong with me, the debating doing strategy A versus B, indecision, food fatigue. You can probably relate, you're probably thinking about it on a low level 10 hours a day, and it's just too much. The thing is, we can get these Ozempic-like results. You just need the proper accountability and foreplanning and knowing how to navigate these windows. High satiation, controlling your blood sugar, and putting the foods where you need to, and then you've got Ozempic-like results, no side effects.